What's up, people? I'm back at you again with another live hangout. I want to try to speak to you just for a few minutes about something that's dealing with our history. And I might mention a little something about Jerusalem and what Jerusalem means and what was the purpose of it and where we are and how we fit the prophecy in the time period in which we live in now. And this is a very, very long history. You know what I'm saying? Um, y'all remember I talked about something last week because I have so many different things that I want to talk about, but I can't put them all in perspective like I want to. But y'all remember when the Hebrew Israelites in the Bible, the children of Israel was they was chosen by God in the Bible. They was chosen. He picked them out to be his people, to be his pleasure possession. They are his possessive. You know what I'm saying? Chosen means you are his possessive. You know what I mean? It's a possess. You own it. So if you chose the people and you call them a special people, then that means that you consider them special is better. When somebody say you're special, there's something different about you. You're not like all of the other people around you. All right, let me give you this scenario. A lot of people, you can have 14 to 15 children. I don't care how many, all of them you may look like. They may look alike. They may have different tastes and budgets for different things, but each one of them going to come out different. You can have 14 children by one man and one woman, and each one of those children are going to come out different. They're all not going to come out the same. They're all not going to come out liking and wanting to do the same thing. And I witness it in my family. And what makes you special is simply what makes you special is that you don't do things the way that other people do it. You see what I'm saying? Like some people may look at you and say, there's something special about that person, you know. But the Most High had chosen people. And with that being said, we know that according to that, God doesn't love everybody. If you're picked out above everybody else, and he said you're chosen and you're special, you're better. If you distinguish a people like that and you say that they're better, what is you saying? Some people, you're saying that you're racist, right? You're actually saying that you're racist. You is. Because that's the Bible is our history book. A lot of people don't realize our people have been messed up and brainwashed. They don't realize how important it is. They don't realize how important the history is because they was taught wrong. It's not that the Bible is wrong. It's just that it was taught to people incorrectly, just like me. Somebody can give you a misconception about Clarence, like myself. And even though they might mean well, they was correct in telling you the correct name. But the problem is they taught people is to misunderstand of who I really was on the inside. They wasn't doing the wrong thing by referring people to me. They taught people wrong. They taught me wrong to people. They just taught me wrong. They just taught the story about me wrong. That's it. It's nothing wrong with me as a person. It's just that people have taught my stories of my life wrong. You see what I'm saying? And you have a lot of people doing that. So I used to go around, I used to say that the Bible is the white man's book, but I discovered differently. Until I'm shown different, I'm going to do differently. Because all my life, I always have wanted to know what was right. You know, even looking into genetic family, because your genetic makes up is what matters. Some people say, well, does that have to do with your soul? Generation and all that, and where you descend from has a lot to do with your soul. It does. Now, I'm not no full-blown child of God, no Christian or whatever you want to call it. But I do my best and try to live as a right. I try to live a good. I mean, not a good life, but a righteous. And I try to be fair toward people. You know what I mean? But I want to read you all something, and I want to focus on the blood flowing down the temple steps like water. Now, you may be asking a question. What are you saying when you say blood flowing down the temple steps like water? A lot of our people, which are the Jews, not Jewish, but Jew, the Jews, they had to flee persecution. They had to flee from the Romans, and they had to go to uh, Africa. You know, now Africa is a people that. So, do y'all know all this information is recorded in the Bible? Do y'all know this, right? There is one example that tells you all about the curses in Deuteronomy chapter 28, and the part that I mentioned about your special people, the chosen people, the Israelites are a special people. Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse 6 says that we are a chosen people. You see what I'm saying? So let me go on. And let me read the title, The Son of God in Tears. The majesty of heaven in tears. The Son of the infinite God, troubled in spirit, bowed down with anguish. The scene filled all heaven with wonder. That scene reveals to us the exceeding sinfulness of sin. It shows how hard a task it is, even for infinite power, to save the guilty from the consequences of transgression of the transgression of the law of God. Jesus looked down to the last generation, saw the world involved in a deception similar to that which caused the destruction of Jerusalem. Okay, remember I talked about Jerusalem, because the fake Amaleks, the Amaleks are the fake Jews, are the ones that's over there in Jerusalem now. Now, let me just say this here before I read any further, is that our people love their enemy. We were taught to love our enemies. But in the Bible, it tells you, it says, now notice, I want y'all to catch this in. It says, love your enemy. It didn't say love the enemy, not the one that's oppressing you. When it say love your enemy, it's talking about the enemy of your own people. That's Matthew chapter 5 and verse 44. Start at verse 43, and you read all the way through verse 44. Then you go to Leviticus chapter 19 and verse 17, where it says, thou shalt not bear any grudge against the children of thy people. And it goes on to say, thou shalt love the Lord, love thy neighbor as thyself, and love thy neighbor. And the neighbor is your Israelite brother. That's who your brother is. Deuteronomy 15 and I think it's Deuteronomy 15 and 14. I think it's Deuteronomy 15, 14 or 15. It says, if an Hebrew man or Hebrew woman, thou shalt love the Hebrew man or the Hebrew woman. So it tells you that. So you have to go and do the rest of the document for yourself. Okay, Jesus looked down to the last generation and saw the world involved in a deception similar to that which caused the destruction of Jerusalem. The great sin of the Jews was their rejection of Christ. The great sin of the Christian world would be their rejection of the law of God, the foundation of his government in heaven, the earth. The precepts of Jehovah would be despised and set at naught. Millions in bondage to sin, slaves, Satan doomed to suffer the second death, would refuse to listen to the words of truth in their day of visitation. Terrible blindness, strange infiltration, infinite, or infinite. I'm sorry, that's infinite. 2 days before the Passover, when Christ had for the last time departed from the temple, after denouncing the hypocrisy of the Jewish rulers, the fake Jews, he again went out with his disciples to the Mount of Olives and seated himself with them upon the grassy slope, looking the city once more. He gazed upon its walls, its towns, his towers, and its palaces. Once more he beheld the temple in its dazzling splendor, a diadem of beauty, crowned with the sacred moment, the magnificent temple. 1,000 years before the psalmist had magnified God's favor to Israel in making her holy house his dwelling place. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm not going to take time and read all of that, but you'll see how Haggai to the prophet prophesied of these things too. So, deplorable state of the nation. The long suffering of God toward Jerusalem only confirmed the Jews in their stubborn impatience, in their hatred and cruelty toward the disciples of Jesus. They rejected the last offer of mercy. Then God withdrew his protection from them and removed his restraining power from Satan and his angels, and the nations were left to the control of the leader she had chosen. Her children had spurned the grace of God, the grace of Christ, which have enabled them to subdue their evil impulses, and now these became the conquerors. Okay, let's look at I'm kind of just jumping through this in because I actually want to just try to get to a point. The Roman leaders endeavored to strike terror to the Jews and thus cause them to surrender. These prisoners were resisted. When taken, were scorned, tortured, and crucified before the wall of the city. Hundreds were daily put to death in this manner, and the dreadful work continued until along the valley of Jehoshaphat at Calvary's cross were erected in so great number that there was scarcely room to move amongst them. So terribly was visit that awful improceeded uttered before the judgment seat of Pilate. His blood be upon us and on our children. Okay, I'm gonna have to come back to that one. The Jewish forces pursue after Kaiser. His army fell upon their rear with such fierceness as to the threatening them with total destruction. It was with great difficulty that the Romans succeeded in making their retreat. The Jews escaped. Okay, I'm not going to have time to just sit here and read all of that. But if you read further in here, exactly what I was trying to show you, tomorrow I'm going to come back and I'm going to read something on, it's called The First Christian Lawyer and Truth. It was talking about, it was a part in here that I actually wanted to read, but I promised myself that I wasn't going to do too much of the reading right now, because you have a lot of people that's impatient. A lot of people don't want to hear that. You know what I mean? So I don't really know how this is really going to sound here, but the part I was reading about Jerusalem, it was talking about it was going to get into persecution and what was that referring to? What was Jerusalem all about? Most of our people don't know. You see what I'm saying? Most of us, including myself, we have been taught that the Most High loves everybody. And when you look into the Bible, it'll actually put you to thinking. Sometimes you have to rethink things and rethink about it. You see what I'm saying? So I really don't know how this video came out. We'll see. Peace and love to my people of color. To my people of color. I'm out.